Hello everyone, today we're diving into a fascinating subject, dry fasting. You might have heard about water fasting, but did you know that dry fasting can potentially triple fat loss compared to water fasting? It's a process where your body taps into its reserves more efficiently, breaking down fat for energy and aiding cellular repair. But how does it work, and what makes it so effective? Join me as we explore the science behind dry fasting, its remarkable fat-burning benefits, and some practical tips to do it safely. Before we begin, I'm curious about you. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments, and feel free to ask any questions you might have. Let's make this an interactive experience. Let's begin with the basics. What exactly is dry fasting, and why does it work so efficiently for fat loss? Dry fasting involves abstaining from both food and water for a specific period, compelling your body to find alternative energy and hydration sources. Now you might ask, how does the body manage this without water? Well, the secret lies in an incredible process that turns stored fat into metabolic water, fueling cellular functions even in the absence of external hydration. When we stop eating and drinking, the body enters a metabolic state that prioritizes survival. Initially, it burns glycogen stored in the liver and muscles. But glycogen stores are limited and can be depleted within 12 to 24 hours, depending on your physical activity and metabolic rate. Once glycogen is gone, the body shifts to a fat-burning state called ketosis. Why does ketosis matter here? In ketosis, your body breaks down fat molecules into fatty acids and glycerol through lipolysis. What's fascinating is that this process not only produces energy, but also releases water, a byproduct known as metabolic water. This internal water production becomes the body's primary hydration source during a dry fast. But why does fat loss accelerate during dry fasting compared to regular water fasting? It boils down to efficiency. The absence of water triggers a biological stress response, signaling the body to break down fat more aggressively to supply water. As a result, dry fasting doesn't just burn calories, it directly targets fat stores, especially the stubborn visceral fat surrounding vital organs. Now, have you heard of autophagy? This natural process plays a crucial role here. During dry fasting, autophagy, the cellular cleanup mechanism, kicks into high gear. The body begins recycling damaged proteins and eliminating dysfunctional cells, which enhances metabolic efficiency. The combined effects of ketosis, lipolysis, and autophagy create an environment where fat is burned more rapidly than during water fasting. Isn't it remarkable how the body adapts so intelligently in the absence of food and water? But this is just the foundation. Let's move on to explore why dry fasting can burn fat 3 times faster than traditional fasting. So what makes dry fasting 3 times more effective for fat loss than water fasting? It might seem counterintuitive. After all, water fasting also forces the body into ketosis. But the difference lies in how the body prioritizes fat metabolism when deprived of water. When you drink water during a fast, your body receives external hydration. This reduces its need to break down fat to generate metabolic water. In contrast, during a dry fast, the body relies entirely on its internal water production process, which significantly ramps up fat metabolism. Have you ever wondered why desert animals like camels can survive without water for days? The secret lies in their fat reserves. Camel humps store fat, not water, and through metabolic processes, the body converts this fat into water. Humans possess a similar, though less pronounced, ability to produce water from fat stores during dry fasting. But how exactly does this triple the fat-burning potential? The body burns fat through a process called beta oxidation. In dry fasting, beta oxidation accelerates as the body tries to maintain hydration and energy levels. Fat molecules, particularly triglycerides, break down into glycerol and free fatty acids. Glycerol is then converted into glucose via gluconeogenesis, while fatty acids are used directly as fuel. Another key player here is insulin. During dry fasting, insulin levels drop dramatically since there's no food intake to trigger insulin release. Low insulin levels signal the body to release stored fat for energy. Simultaneously, the hormone norepinephrine increases, stimulating fat cells to release their stored contents. Have you ever noticed how bloated you feel after a carb-heavy meal? That's because glycogen binds to water. Dry fasting forces the body to shed this water weight initially, but the real magic lies in sustained fat burning afterward. Research suggests that dry fasting can help reduce stubborn fat in areas like the abdomen more effectively than water fasting. Isn't it fascinating how the body instinctively knows how to optimize fat loss during a dry fast? Next, we'll take a closer look at the role of metabolic water and why it's so crucial during this process. Isn't it amazing to think that the human body can generate water from fat? But how does this process actually work? Let me walk you through the science of metabolic water, which plays a crucial role in fat loss during dry fasting. When you stop drinking water, your body doesn't simply go into dehydration mode. Instead, it turns to a remarkable survival mechanism, extracting water from stored fat through a process called lipolysis. So, what exactly is lipolysis? Lipolysis is the breakdown of triglycerides, the primary fat storage form in our bodies, into glycerol and free fatty acids. During this process, hydrogen atoms from the fat molecules bond with oxygen through cellular respiration, creating metabolic water. In fact, for every 100 grams of fat metabolized, the body produces approximately 110 grams of water. Now you might be wondering, why does the body prioritize fat for this water production? The answer lies in water yield efficiency. Fat provides significantly more water per gram compared to carbohydrates or proteins. While carbs generate about 60 grams of water per 100 grams, fat yields nearly double that amount. This efficiency makes fat the body's preferred target during dry fasting. Have you ever heard of desert animals surviving for weeks without drinking water? Camels, for instance, rely on fat stored in their humps to meet their hydration needs. The human body uses a similar mechanism during dry fasting, tapping into adipose tissue to maintain cellular hydration. But metabolic water production does more than quench internal thirst. It also drives fat loss by promoting lipolysis. As water scarcity increases, the body intensifies fat metabolism to generate more metabolic water. This explains why dry fasting often results in more pronounced fat loss compared to water fasting. Still, you might ask, does this mean dry fasting can replace regular water intake? Absolutely not. Metabolic water is a temporary survival tool, not a long-term hydration strategy. Chronic dry fasting can deplete fat stores to unsafe levels and strain the kidneys. That's why it's essential to approach dry fasting with caution, understanding the body's limits. Isn't it fascinating how our bodies can adapt and thrive under controlled stress? But water production is just part of the equation. Next, we'll examine the hormonal shifts that make dry fasting so effective. Have you ever wondered why some people struggle to lose fat even when they eat less? The answer often lies in hormonal imbalances. Dry fasting naturally recalibrates these hormones, creating an environment that prioritizes fat loss. But how exactly does this happen? The hormone most commonly associated with fat storage is insulin. Insulin's job is to regulate blood sugar levels by promoting glucose uptake into cells. However, when insulin levels are consistently elevated, often due to frequent eating or high-carb diets, the body stores fat instead of burning it. Now, during dry fasting, insulin levels plummet. With no food intake to trigger insulin release, the body activates fat breakdown through lipolysis. Lower insulin levels not only unlock fat stores but also reduce inflammation and insulin resistance. But insulin isn't the only hormone involved. Have you heard of growth hormone? This hormone increases during fasting, sometimes by as much as 500%. Growth hormone plays a critical role in preserving lean muscle mass while encouraging fat metabolism. And then there's norepinephrine. This stress hormone increases during dry fasting to keep energy levels stable. It stimulates adipose tissue, instructing fat cells to release stored triglycerides for fuel. Have you ever felt more alert while fasting? That heightened sense of awareness is thanks to norepinephrine, which also boosts cognitive function. Interestingly, cortisol, often dubbed the stress hormone, also rises slightly during fasting. While excessive cortisol can lead to fat gain, moderate increases during dry fasting help mobilize stored energy. These hormonal adjustments work together to amplify fat burning while safeguarding muscle tissue. Isn't it incredible how the body balances energy demands during fasting? But there's another equally fascinating process that supports this fat loss: autophagy. Let's uncover how dry fasting supercharges this cellular cleanup mechanism. Have you ever wondered how your body maintains itself on a microscopic level? How it discards old malfunctioning cells and makes space for new, healthier ones? The answer lies in a remarkable process called autophagy, a biological cleanup system that becomes supercharged during dry fasting. And here's the exciting part: this internal recycling mechanism doesn't just improve cellular health, it also plays a significant role in accelerating fat loss. So, what exactly is autophagy? The word itself comes from the Greek terms auto, meaning self, and phagy, meaning eat, literally, self-eating. While it might sound strange, autophagy is one of the body's most intelligent survival tools. When nutrients and water become scarce, the body triggers autophagy to maximize efficiency. It breaks down damaged proteins, dysfunctional organelles, and even harmful pathogens, repurposing their components to sustain essential functions. Have you ever noticed how athletes become stronger after consistent training? Their bodies adapt to the stress of exercise by building muscle and enhancing endurance. Similarly, during dry fasting, autophagy intensifies to protect the body at a cellular level. Without water, the body prioritizes essential cells while sacrificing damaged or non-essential components. But what does this have to do with fat loss? Well, autophagy doesn't directly burn fat, but it indirectly supports the process in several crucial ways. First, damaged mitochondria, often referred to as the powerhouses of the cell, are cleared out and replaced with new, more efficient ones. Why does this matter? Because mitochondria are responsible for converting fat into usable energy. Healthier mitochondria mean better fat oxidation, especially when the body is in ketosis, as it is during dry fasting. Now let's talk about fat cells for a moment. Did you know that fat tissue isn't just an inert energy reserve? It's metabolically active and closely linked to immune function. During dry fasting, autophagy targets senescent fat cells, all dysfunctional cells that no longer function optimally. Removing these cells improves insulin sensitivity and encourages the body to mobilize fat stores more effectively. Interestingly, autophagy also supports skin health. Have you ever noticed a natural glow after a fasting period? That's because autophagy helps remove damaged skin cells, promoting collagen production and enhancing skin elasticity. In fact, some studies suggest that regular fasting can slow visible signs of aging. Dry fasting is an incredibly powerful tool for fat loss and cellular health, but it must be approached with care. The body is remarkably adaptive, but it also requires thoughtful preparation, mindful execution, and a gradual return to normal hydration and nutrition. Without these precautions, the process can become stressful, even harmful. So how can you practice dry fasting safely while maximizing its benefits? The first and most crucial step is preparation. Dry fasting is not something you should jump into without conditioning your body first. Fasting, like any metabolic challenge, requires adaptation. If you've never fasted before, it's wise to start with intermittent fasting. This involves eating within a set window, such as 8 or 10 hours, and abstaining from food for the remainder of the day. Over time, you can extend the fasting period, allowing your body to adapt to using fat as its primary fuel source. Once your body becomes efficient at this, it will handle dry fasting more smoothly. Once a fast begins, your body shifts into a survival mode that prioritizes efficiency. Without external water, the body starts producing metabolic water from fat stores. This metabolic adaptation works beautifully when done correctly, but it requires you to listen to your body's signals. Thirst, for example, is natural and expected. However, symptoms like persistent dizziness, confusion, or a racing heart might indicate dehydration or electrolyte imbalance. In such cases, it's better to break the fast than to push through. Fasting should support your health, not compromise it. While fasting, you might notice your mouth feeling dry. This sensation doesn't necessarily mean you're dehydrated. It's often just the body adapting to the absence of water intake. Dry fasting has gained attention for its potential to accelerate fat loss and improve cellular health. However, along with its growing popularity, a wave of myths and misconceptions has emerged. These misunderstandings often cause confusion, fear, or skepticism about the practice. So let's clear the air and address some of the most common myths surrounding dry fasting. One of the biggest misconceptions is that dry fasting simply causes dehydration. People often assume that going without water for an extended period leads directly to dangerous dehydration. But here's what actually happens. During a controlled, short-term dry fast, the body activates a process called metabolic water production. When fat breaks down, it releases hydrogen, which binds with oxygen to form water at the cellular level. This metabolic water can sustain essential functions temporarily. In fact, fat metabolism produces more water per gram than carbohydrate or protein metabolism. This is why animals like camels, whose humps store fat, can survive for long periods without drinking water. Another myth suggests that dry fasting leads to muscle loss. Many people believe that when the body lacks food and water, it starts breaking down muscle tissue for energy. While this can happen in extreme or prolonged fasts, dry fasting actually prioritizes fat stores for fuel. When insulin levels drop and growth hormone levels rise during fasting, the body is naturally guided to preserve muscle mass. Growth hormone, which can increase up to 5-fold during fasting, acts as a protective agent for lean tissue while encouraging fat metabolism. As long as the fast remains within a reasonable time frame and the body has sufficient fat reserves, muscle loss is minimal. Dry fasting can be a powerful tool for fat loss, cellular repair, and metabolic efficiency, but only when done correctly. If you're new to the practice, you might be wondering, how do I even get started? Well, the good news is that with some thoughtful preparation, careful execution, and proper recovery, dry fasting can become a safe and rewarding experience. So let me walk you through some essential tips to help you get started. First, preparation is everything. Have you ever tried running a long distance without training? Just like your muscles need conditioning for physical activity, your metabolism needs to adapt before dry fasting. Start with intermittent fasting, eating within an 8 or 10-hour window to teach your body how to function without constant fuel. Once you're comfortable with that, you can gradually reduce your eating window until you feel ready for a short dry fast. But what should you eat before the fast? The days leading up to your dry fast are crucial. Focus on foods with high water content, like cucumbers, watermelon, oranges, and leafy greens. These foods saturate your cells with water, making the fasting period more comfortable. Also, avoid salty and processed foods. They cause water retention and dehydration late. Now let's talk about the fast itself. The first few hours might feel easy, especially if you've done intermittent fasting before. But around the 12 to 16-hour mark, your body shifts into fat-burning mode. At this point, you might feel a dry mouth or slight thirst. Don't panic, this is normal. The body is activating its metabolic water production. However, pay close attention to your energy levels. If you feel dizzy, weak, or experience heart palpitations, don't hesitate to end the fast and hydrate. Your body always knows best. Thank you for tuning in today. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more natural health tips. Have questions or tried this remedy yourself? Leave a comment below.